This basically confirms it. This basically confirms that the Boston Bruins are not going to be in the playoffs. There was always a chance, but this game against the Buffalo Sabres pretty much confirms it for us, and we saw some terrible looks in this game. I'm going to be talking about it, not really breaking it down because I don't want to make you guys sad on this evening or tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, whenever you're watching this video. But this was a horrible game, and we need to talk about this right now. So before we get into this, though, we know 70% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. You know we're on the road to 6K, and ultimately the big goal of surpassing, the Boston Bruins in subscribers. And that's a tough one, but I know you guys can do it. The sport's been absolutely incredible lately, and I appreciate every single one of you guys watching this video right now. But with the first screenshot, and this one you may want to close your eyes for, is the box score, not the box score, the hockey stat card from this game. Now, when you go on Twitter and you see the hockey stat card, normally you're expecting some insights onto, maybe someone that did good. Maybe someone that had a pretty sneaky game that you always thought would be great. But this one, you see a whole lot of mid, and then you see unexcusable at the bottom. Andrew Peeke, Nikita Zadorov, almost down in the -4s. Both were on the ice for, I believe, 4 goals against, and that was within the 5th goal. And it could be more at this point. I can't lie. I stopped watching this game after this horrible third period. When you're looking at this game, and of course with the Bruins injuries, the illness going through the locker room, you're gonna have some mishaps. You're gonna have, especially in this game, your top 3 defensemen out of this game due to injury: Hampus Lindholm and Charlie Coyle. Brandon Carlo was not on the ice pregame because of an illness. And, ultimately you lose your top 3 defensemen on paper right there. Now, that's no excuse. These guys are all NHL players. You have to step up in the opportunities you're given. And we've seen Andrew Peeke really play, I believe, the most time on ice in his career over the past few games. And or at least in the Boston Bruins tenure. But the way that we're looking at these games, the way that we look at every bit of it here from, Swayman up, and Swayman's been pretty good the last few games, and overall, some pretty good games. He's kept us in some games, but there's games like this where, he's not getting any help in front of him, he's not helping himself, and things like that really just don't help what we're going to have, and especially against the Buffalo Sabres, the worst team in the NHL at this very moment. Things are not what we want to see. Things are not going in the direction that we want, and pretty much if we're seeing these against the bottom teams, there is zero chance that we're going to see any success against a team above 20th in the standings. But when we look at this as well, another kind of little, fuel to the fire, I guess we could say, from Ty Anderson here. Tonight marks the 6th time this season that the Bruins goaltender has allowed at least 6 goals in a game. Officially the most for Boston in the post-04 NHL. Thomas, Tolvanen combo did in 5 times in the 6 and 7. And the most since the team since 96 and 97. Ranford 5 times. Tallis, Carey, and Bailey 1 time. But when you look at it as well, Jeremy Swayman has been in net for 4 of those, tied with Tim Thomas in 06-07 for the most goals. Bruins goalie since 05. 96, 97, Ranford up next with 5. Hasn't been done more than 5 times in the season by a goalie since Doug Keens, and 8 times in 1985 and 86. And, you don't want to see Jeremy Swayman's name among this, especially after giving him the contract, especially after having the offseason that we did with him. We don't want to see this, but we have to realize as well, we're not even halfway through the season. When you're looking at this now, it goes to put on paper and really goes to show how bad this Bruins team has been playing, how bad this team has, spread this around. And, it's not on any one player. Now, it's a whole team point. Whatever Joe Sacco is doing, I don't want to say it's on him either. I don't think that Jim Montgomery was overly the problem. I certainly said that he was one that could have been fired, but I really thought it was early, But when do you see an NHL owner get a GM to fire 3 to 4 coaches? At what point do you think that it's the GM doing it? At what point do you think it's the way the team is built, the way the team is structured, not the one coaching the team being the issue? And it certainly seems like this has been the case. Certainly seems like this is the best example of this case. And putting Don Sweeney and Cam Neely in the target, in the reticle, is exactly what needs to be done here for, this season. There's no excuses to be brought to this season by anybody else. But I do have another tweet from Ty Anderson here. The first time the Bruins have surrendered multiple hat-tricks in the same game since Eric Daze and Steve Sullivan had a hat-trick each for the Blackhawks on March 9th, 2003. And, multiple hat-tricks in one game is something else. That's just another kind of stat that is just a Bruin stat this season. When you're looking at this, when you're looking at multiple hat tricks in the same game, it's inexcusable. Inexcusable. And when you're seeing J.J. Paterka, I believe it was, and also having Tage Thompson come in, score 3 each. Tage Thompson's on a tear this season, but J.J. Paterka should not be doing anything like this to a Boston Bruins team at any point in his career. And no offense to J.J. Paterka, great player, but the Boston Bruins franchise should not be allowing this to happen at any point ever. And it's inexcusable. But kind of focusing back on this game, and we're looking at these lines right here. And this is something that we've been looking at for quite some time. This was pre-game lines, of course, so you see that second line start. That's not the way it is, really. It was still the first line, Pastrnak, Zacha, Geeky, but starting off, Marchand, Poitras, and Coyle, Frederic, Lindholm, Letary, Kepke, Beecher, and Brazeau, Zadorov, and Peak, your first defense pairing. And that's not an ideal pairing to have at the NHL level. And, let's be honest, Zadorov was a signing that I was so excited for. Love the guy. But he has been so bad. And, I've been trying to be lenient. I've been trying to give him some credit, but he has been horrible this season. Andrew Peak just playing a much bigger role than he's supposed to. He's supposed to be a third pairing, I should say, defenseman, right defenseman, can play the left side as well. Hasn't been working. Then you see Michael Callahan, Jordan Oshie on your second pairing, and Mason Lohrei, a guy who's been playing well this season with some, of course, bound to happen mistakes. And Parker Wallace-Boone, that line, that's a good line, But apart from that, when you're looking at this is not an NHL team. Ladies and gentlemen, we know this is not an NHL team. We've been looking at this. We've been looking at these lines every day in and out, and saying that this team is not at the NHL level, and management has done nothing about it. And it's to a point now where everything has gone the opposite way for the Boston Bruins. Once again, from Ty Anderson, no Brandon Carlo tonight. Peak logged a season-high 22 minutes, 43 seconds against Colorado last Saturday. So another busy night for him, it looks like. Peak's been really good for him since 73 went down, over 20 minutes every night. 4 points, plus 5 rating, and 12 blocks in 6 games. And as I mentioned, big fan of Andrew Peak, but it really just isn't his role. A first pairing defenseman is not in his cards at this point in his career. Not saying it won't, but right now when you have Charlie McAvoy, Brandon Carlo on your right side ahead of him, that lines up to be very, very well. But when you're missing both of them, you got to step up, and tonight was not the night for him. But Brandon Carlo has been a pretty big liability as well without Hampus Lindholm. That's been no surprise to anybody. I do have a very good screenshot to kind of put it into perspective of how he's been working out for the Bruins this time. Looking at the tiers of wins provided. When you look at his wins provided is 2%, and detrimental is the ranking, I guess you could say, of the tiers wins provided. And that is the bottom of that list. The franchise elite, high, upper average, lower, poor, and detrimental. Not a very good one. And, this is just another screenshot that I found coming from moneypuck.com on Twitter. Another pretty good, kind of a chart, I guess, card, whatever you want to call it, on Twitter to base off of some people. But when you're looking at it, absolutely ridiculous. Something that just cannot happen. So I hate to bring this video to you. And honestly, I hate when I have to go and look at a game like this, knowing to make a video, knowing to bring it to you guys, that a video like this is just sad to make, sad to watch, and nothing ever goes well. But as I mentioned in the intro, it's pretty much confirmed the Boston Bruins will not be making the playoffs. I had a hope. I had hope for this team. Things can change once the trade deadline comes. We've seen at the All-Star game a few years ago, St. Louis. I don't want to mention it once again, but it's possible. But by the way this management has been making it out to be, the way this team has been looking, it will be a ridiculous feat to be able to complete, and I don't think the Bruins can do it. But like I said, let me know what you think about this video. Let me know what the team, the game, whatever you want to do. Comment anything. It don't really matter to me at this point, because this team has been making a very sad Bruins fan. I guess is a good way of putting it. But I always appreciate your guys' viewerships on these videos, and it's a tough season, but we're all here together with this, and we got to watch the games. We got to suffer through them, and at some point, we got to turn it off. So, like I said, I do appreciate all of you guys watching this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well, but I'm signing out. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.